Hey, it's John F. Gately. You can call me Jack, and I'm broadcasting to you from beautiful Plymouth. We are going to talk about this bombshell text messages that have been released this day, today. They've been released today by MassDOT as part of a ongoing public records request. There was supposed to be a hearing in Suffolk Superior Court today at 11. That got canceled. Because MassDOT has produced some of the records that Global Partners, one of the bidders for the 35-year rest stop, or what some people call Service Plaza lease. Global Partners bid for that. They lost. Apple Green, who's owned by Blackstone, won. They're an Irish company. And Global Partners has been calling into question the legitimacy of that process. And as part of that, they were suing MassDOT to get some records, and some of those have been released just this week and been made public today. And, you know, as always, we have our notes. So it makes clear to me, and we've been covering this story at johnfgately.com. And if you want to get over to johnfgately.com, you can. Where we've written about this story, I don't know, 5 or 6 times or something like that. And you can get over there and follow that story over there. If you want the backstory over at johnfgately.com, go right ahead, please. We invite you to do that. But effectively, at this point, it is crystal clear to me that these new release text messages make it crystal clear that, number one, the process for the 35-year lease must be suspended, number one. And there's talk of potentially signing the lease as soon as this month. That process, given the revelations of these text messages, which we're going to cover in today's live stream, must be halted, must be suspended. Number two, the whole thing must be rebid. The text messages that we're going to reveal to you in this live stream make it perfectly clear that the entire process, was corrupted. I mean, there's really no other conclusion to make. And number three, in the rebidding of this process, it seems perfectly clear that Mr. Bosworth, who's a key MassDOT employee, cannot be involved in the process going forward in any way, shape, or form, and may or should face some type of disciplinary action for his conduct. And also, Apple Green, owned by Blackstone, should be disqualified from the rebid process. I think those things are self-evident when we release these text messages to you today in this live stream. So, just to be clear, so that you know where I'm coming from, I have no dog in this race. Like, just to let you know, full disclosure, I have no now or in the past any type of conflict or connection with Apple Green, Global, MassDOT, Suffolk Construction, Blackstone. Like, I don't know any of these people, and I have no axe to grind. Like, I don't care who really wins. All I want is an honest process for the taxpayer. There's been a lot of talk about, well, it should go to the local company. Well, you know, I don't always think that's true. Both Suffolk Construction and Global Partners are local companies. Global's from Waltham, Suffolk's from Boston, Apple Green's from Ireland. So I don't like to play with it should go to the local company angle. I just want the taxpayer to win and the members of the traveling public to win. That's all I care about. And I really think that this, and the reason why I've been focused so much on it and written about 5 or 6 pieces over at johnfgately.com, is because I really think that it speaks to the inherent corruption that we have here in Massachusetts. And I just want to be perfectly clear. Most of my focus has been on Apple Green and Suffolk Construction. Make it perfectly clear that if I found out tomorrow that Global Partners, which is the bidder that lost out and seems to be aggrieved, if I find out that they were in some way, shape, or form corrupting the process, I'll report that too. Equal opportunity here, right? Equal opportunity here. And I reported out Apple Green's launch of, they launched a website putting forth their perspective on the entire bid process. And I reported that. So, if you want to go to John or jackgately.com, the tip line is always open. Make sure you provide plenty of information in the tip line, jackgately.com. And we'll continue to update you over at johnfgately.com with additional articles. But right now, we're going to get into the meat of the text messages and this entire process, which was released today. So, again, as always, we have our notes. We're going to get over to the letter that Global Partners, let's see if this looks the way it should here, that Global Partners, there we go, that good, sent to Monica Tibbetts Nutt today, September 10th, and as well to the entire MassDOT board here. And at the center of this letter is the conduct of MassDOT employee Scott Bosworth, who's the head of the selection committee. And let's see if we just kind of center this for you so you can see it here. That's better. There you go here. A little bit that way, maybe. Hold on. I just want to make sure that you can see it on your end. I have an answer for that. Hold on. We'll get that there. There we go. That's better. According to Global Partners, and I think that this statement is backed up by the text messages that MassDOT has now provided and which are attached to this letter, they confirm that Scott Bosworth, head of the selection committee, engaged in repeatable, impermissible conduct with Apple Green's owner, Blackstone Infrastructure Partners, via Apple Green board member Kurt Summers, executives at Suffolk Construction, a key member of the Apple Green bidding team, and Apple Green's registered lobbyist. Now, there are policies relative to how you can, as a state employee, be in contact with bidders, especially if you're overseeing the procurement process. And there are rules of contact that requires you or prohibits, I should say, any what they call ex parte communications regarding the RFP, the lease, or the procurement with any MassDOT staff, advisors, contractors, or consultants. Also, it requires that each proposer or bidder correspond with the MassDOT regarding the RFP only through MassDOT's designated program representative and proposer's designated representative. In other words, MassDOT has a person who's supposed to be, that you're supposed to be communicating with. And you're only supposed to be in communication with that person, who in this case was Michael Woods, the procurement manager. And by the way, I think this is the only time that Mr. Woods' name shows up on this live. So I just want to make sure that we're not in any way impugning anything that Mr. Woods may or may not have done. I don't. So far, we know nothing to impugn his conduct in any way, shape, or form. Just to let you know. So that gets us to a huge, long lawyer type of explanation about what happened here. And we're going to try to skip that for you at the moment, other than to tell you that we actually do, let me just cue this up for you, have the actual text messages that go along, there we are here, that go along with this TikTok that we're going to share with you in just a minute. So we not only have the TikTok of the text messages, but we have the actual text messages, which if you've ever tried to read text messages in context, it's a little awkward. But we are going to fortunately read through the TikTok of these text messages so that you can understand exactly what these text messages are saying. And what they refer to specifically, and why they're a violation specifically is, we'll bring this up here. This document here, well, one moment, hit the wrong button. There we go. This document here is the statement of conflict of disclosure statement. And this is super, super important. It says that conflict disclosure statement, initial proposals, Service Plaza operator Scott Bosworth hereby declare, as an employee of MassDOT, I do not have a conflict of interest, either real or apparent, as a result of a business or personal relationship between myself and any firm under consideration for the program, abbreviating just a little bit for your consideration. Now, you'll also remember that I am not a lawyer. Way too smart to go to law school, which will be obviously demonstrated by my ability to explain this in plain language to you. Way too smart to go to law school. But let's get back to this disclosure. So basically, you have to, as the lead of the whole bidding process, Mr. Bosworth had to declare that he has no conflict of interest, either business or personal. Now, we're not going to get into the potential business conflict that Mr. Bosworth may or may not had. We're going to basically focus on the personal ex parte communications that Mr. Bosworth had with the bidders. And you also have to disclose, not only does this disclosure impact the day you sign it, but it also requires you to disclose anything that may develop over time. If during the course of the program I become aware of an appearance of conflict, remember, you don't have to have conflict. You just have to have an appearance of conflict with a firm under consideration, I will notify immediately MassDOT's Deputy General Counsel of Operations and Policy in writing of the facts surrounding this situation. Please see Schedule 1 for a list of firms under consideration, signed November 22, 2024. And then, of course, you have a list of firms that people bid. Basically, it's Apple Green, Racetrack and Golf, Global Partners, and then Love's Truck Stops, which are the four major bidders for the 35-year rest stop or Service Plaza contract, which, by the way, was originally 30 years, but one of the addendum or amendments to the RFP was to move it from 30 years to 35 years. The allegation from Global is that was changed to an extended period of time to allow for the financing to work for Apple Green. Allegedly, that's their allegation. Just to let you know. By the way, thank you so much for joining us today. Great to have you. Yeah, fantastic. It's been a little while since we've done a live stream. So happy to have you here today. Thank you so much. So this document, this disclosure of conflict of interest, and is effectively a pledge saying that, hey, I have no conflicts, and if anything comes up, either business or personal, I'll let MassDOT legal counsel be aware of that. That was signed, again, November 22nd, 2024, less than a year ago. So what we're going to do here, because it's easier to read, is to go down to the TikTok, which is provided by Global, which I have read myself and appears to be a fair and very accurate of representation of what's in the text messages that MassDOT released to Global just Monday. So I've double checked off camera. I've double checked to make sure that the TikTok we're going to be reviewing reflects the public documents that MassDOT released. I thought that was important to you, my viewers, that I do that for you before I depend upon an interpretation rather than the actual texts, because but the thing is, reading text, it's hard, right? So let's go to the TikTok where they're effectively transcribed word for word. I'm going to bring that up for you now. Hold on here. The TikTok starts on page 56. Here we go. Let's bring that up. This is the MassDOT timeline and TikTok for Bosworth text messages. So these are text exchanges between Mr. Bosworth, who's the leader of the selection process at MassDOT, the person who just signed that disclosure conflict of interest statement that we just reviewed. And these text messages that are released by Global through their public records request and sent back. So just so that you understand, Global sent a public records request to MassDOT. MassDOT finally released some of that, and then Global wrote up a letter and sent it back to MassDOT with the same text messages, kind of like, hey, okay, we got the information. Now we're bumping it up to the board. And Monica Tibbet's not. All right, so just so that you understand how this flows. And then, of course, I got a copy of it. These text messages are between Kurt Summers, and Mr. Bosworth, who's a Blackstone senior manager, Carlo Basile, who's the consultant for Smith, Costello, and Crawford. You know them. They're one of the biggest lobbying firms on Beacon Hill. If you went over to johnfgately.com, you'd find out that we have a story about how the former ambassador to Ireland joins lobbying firm representing Irish Service Plaza bid winner. Former state rep Claire Cronin was an Irish ambassador when Applegreen announced a major deal in New Jersey. So the former Irish ambassador, Brockton area state representative, who may or may not have somehow become aware of Applegreen. She knew Applegreen because they're an Irish company. And the announcement with the New Jersey deal occurred during Governor Murphy's visit to New Jersey. Not to get too much in the weeds on this. She put that deal together, or helped put that deal together as the ambassador to Ireland. She now comes back to Massachusetts, now that the Biden administration is over, and lands a gig at the lobbying firm that now represents Applegreen. Revolving door, right? Can't make this up. All right. Steve Sachs over at Applegreen. Patrick Brophy. He's the chief of operations under Matty Walsh, and now works at Suffolk Construction. He's the director of, basically, he's the state rep for Suffolk Construction, if you want to think about it like that. Trevor Moore, president of Applegreen Northeast. Ronan Ryan, chief investment officer at Applegreen. Patrick Lucy, Suffolk Construction general manager, Northeast. And Mr. Fish himself, chairman and CEO of Suffolk Construction. Now, to be fair, and I asked Global Partners this question today. I said, just to be the devil's advocate, I said, obviously, Global Partners have had communication with MassDOT during this time frame. Am I right? And they said yes. And they said that their communication, and I said, if I was to FOIA all of your communication with MassDOT, would I find any type of same flavor of messages? And they said no. They said all of our messages would have been procedural, like, okay, what time is the meeting, or professional, restricted to the topic at hand, the bid itself. And again, if someone wants to drop a dime over to me at jackgately.com, or just call me and tell me that, oh no, Global Partners is as corrupt as Applegreen and this whole, then fine, I'll report that too. But I have no evidence at this point that that's the case. All I have is evidence that that we're talking about here today, that Mr. Bosworth was, how shall we say, compromised. And I don't think that's an allegation anymore. Now that we have these text messages, I think that's an established fact. All right, so let's get back to the TikTok here. We have TikTok with all of so Mr. Bosworth, during the course of the decision, is text messaging all of these important parties that are bidding on the Service Plaza contract. Thank you again for joining us today. Timeline with text messages. Here we go here. December 10th. Let's pick it up there. That's an important date. On December 10th, MassDOT issued a first change to the RFP. Now, remember, Bosworth signed the conflict of interest policy that we just reviewed on November 22nd. So this is about 2 weeks, a little bit after that, last December. MassDOT issues the first change to the addendum, or the first change to the RFP, on December 10th. On that same day, Bosworth exchanges text messages with Mr. Fish, who's the chairman and extremely influential CEO of Suffolk Construction, which appears to be certainly a violation of the conflict of interest policy, because it appears to be ex parte and also of a personal nature, which is expressly prohibited by the conflict of interest policy. Scott, good morning, Mr. Fish says at 6:16 a.m. I received a panic phone call yesterday at 8:30 from a builder at Oyster Harbors. By the way, if you don't know, Oyster Harbors is the super luxury exclusive island in Osterville. There's a bridge, a drawbridge, which still works. And then you get to a gate. You ain't getting by the gate unless you belong there. Now, when I was a taxi driver down the Cape back in the day, I've been to Oyster Harbors dozens of times. And yeah, that's another video altogether. But this place is big bucks. Anyways, all right. So a short time later at 8:44, Mr. Bosworth responds, "Hi, I just tried the district highway director again, but got her voicemail. I will stay on it this morning. Thank you, Scott," according to the text message. Now, again, we have the actual text messages, which I showed you earlier, and which I've tweeted out a couple, or posted to X, whatever they call it. I tweeted out a couple of these already. But we're just reading the transcript because it's a little bit easier on Jack's eyes more than anything else. But how many of you can text message a high-level employee at MassDOT at 6:16 in the morning and get a response by 8:44 a.m. in which that MassDOT employee has already called the district highway director for you? Right? Yeah. That's not, if I pull out onto State Road here in beautiful Plymouth and I find a mattress in the middle of the road, can I text Scott Bosworth at MassDOT and say, "Hey, Scott, there's a mattress in the middle of the road on the state road. Can you send someone over to pick it up? And can I have Scott Bosworth get back to me before 9 a.m. telling me he's already talked to the district director?" No normal person has this type of access. Nor should the head of the selection committee have this type of access to one, or nor should a bidder should have this type of access to the head of the selection committee, especially when the head of the selection committee only about 2 weeks ago signed the conflict of interest pledge that we reviewed for you. Back to the text messages. 5:22 later that day. Scott, I can't thank you enough for your support today. You are a true friend. Bosworth, hopeful that we made progress. Fish, thumbs up. Wow, this really does look bad for John Fish. I mean, it's completely corrupting. And for Mr. Bosworth, who's kind of like a pawn in the game here, I think. December 11th, the next day, Fish appears to call Bosworth. Bosworth, can I call you later? Hi, I'm in the selection committee meeting on the service plazas until 1 o'clock. Call you after. Fish, 2 thumbs up. So Fish calls Bosworth while literally Bosworth is in the meeting helping to decide who's going to get the 35-year lease that Fish is one of the bidders for. I'm in the selection committee meeting. Can I call you later? In other words, I'm too busy doing your bidding for you, allegedly. Let me fix the process for you in this meeting, allegedly. And then once I fix the process, then I'll call you back. December 11th, same day. Patrick Brophy of Suffolk Construction appears to have called Bosworth. Can I call you later? At your convenience. Thank you. Bosworth. Hi, I'm in the he says the same thing. Hi, I'm in the selection committee on the service plazas until 1. Can I call you after? In other words, it's reading between the lines, it seems clear that both Fish and Brophy are very eager to find out what's going on with the selection committee. And they're calling for an update. I mean, that's what I interpret there. In any case, these communications are not to the project manager, Mr. Woods, who we mentioned earlier in this live stream, are they? No, they're direct text messages to the head of the selection process. Text exchange between Bosworth and Fish regarding Oyster Harbors, which we've covered also at johnfgately.com. You can get over there once again, and you can find, I actually went to this place, Oyster Harbors, and there I am there. You can watch the video. We won't play the video, but you can watch the video. I'm on the bridge. We went to Oyster Harbors to find out what John Fish needed help with. And now we know that beyond a doubt, based upon these text messages released by MassDOT, that he needed help with the bridge, which is what we thought it was. Scott, I hope all is well. It appears one of our Oyster Harbors members, who is a close friend of mine, Brian Dacey, is now leading an effort on this matter. Would you mind if I had him reach out to you? Thank you for support. Now, so for those of you who don't know, Mr. Dacey is a well-known, long-time home builder on Cape Cod. Dacey Homes, the whole thing. I think they have a new company now. But he's been doing this he's been building houses on Cape Cod for a real long time. Boston College graduate. And of course, Mr. Bosworth responds, sure thing. If it's the same Brian, I know him. Of course he knows him. I can arrange a call with him and Matt. Thanks. Fish, 1 thumb up. January 5th, Bosworth, Patrick, Lucy arranged to connect by phone on the next day, January 6th at 3 p.m. January 10th, MassDOT issued addendum number 2 to the RFP. Text exchange, January 16th, between Bosworth and Carlo Basile. Now, he works for Smith, Costello, and Crawford. You remember Smith, Costello, and Crawford. Remember the scandal they were involved with the state rep and was it Miss Crawford? I believe it was. Right? I don't have all the details at the tip of my finger right now, but I think you remember that scandal. Carlo Basile is a former state representative, Democrat, who then went to work for Charlie Baker and now is in the, how do we want to say this, influence peddling business, allegedly. Bosworth, 9:40 a.m. Hey, did Cargo Ventures sell their property in East Boston? No, didn't sell it. Okay, we were confused with the tank from far across the street. Yep, that's not his. All right, fairly meaningless text exchange, in my opinion, in that regard. Text between Bosworth and Brophy between February 25th through the 27th, extended text exchange. Brophy invites Bosworth to Boston City Councilor John Fitzgerald's event. He's running for city council. It was on the ballot yesterday. No donation necessary, but hope you can join me next Thursday for a drink. A good couple of people. You know the entire room. Hope you can make it. So, okay, like this type of thing goes on in politics all the time. Hey, can you come to my buddy's political fundraiser? Yeah, that happens all the time. But it shouldn't be happening between the head of the selection committee and the potential bidders for a 35-year lease to manage the service plazas. Thanks for thinking of me. It's on my calendar. I will do my best to be there. No pressure, just an opportunity to have a local beer with friends. Yeah, that happens all the time. But, you know, just to reinforce this, the head of the selection committee and the entire selection committee, that's why we have these policies, should be operating in basically a cone of purity, if you want to call it like that. Now, we know Massachusetts is a one-party state and there's corruption. We get that. And, yeah, a little leak here, but this is not just a inadvertent, I shouldn't have text messaged my old friend. This is not just a one-time, oops, I shouldn't have done this. This is a systematic pattern of behavior influencing the bidding process, creating a real and also an appearance of conflict. This creates not only a real conflict, but also an appearance of conflict based upon a personal relationship. Brophy attempts to connect to Bosworth by phone. Is it time sensitive? Don't want to interrupt your night. It's now, check the timestamps on these. 4:39. Brophy, can you get a chance? Can you please give me a call? 6:31. Bosworth, is it time sensitive? How many state employees can you get to text message you at all? And how many state employees can you get to text message you at 6:31 p.m.? No, this is corrupt to its core. 8 o'clock. Brophy, don't want to interrupt your night. We can connect tomorrow. 9:18 p.m. Bosworth is still texting the Suffolk Construction honcho. I would call, but an overnight conference program just wrapped up. Call you tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. Again, how many of you can text message a government employee at any time and get a response? How many of you have the personal phone number for the government, for any government employee, right? And how many of you can get a response after hours, especially from the employee that's effectively the key person deciding a massive 35-year lease? Brophy missed Boswell's call. Brophy followed up by text message the next day at 7:01 a.m. Apologize for missing your call. Went through blah, 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 blah. Long day ahead. I can only imagine. Blah, blah. Prayers are with you. Know that my prayers are with you and your family, sending you love and strength. And thanks for our informative discussion earlier this week. So Mr. Brophy knows about something going on in Mr. Bosworth's life. We don't know what that is. But it says here, know that my prayers are with you and your family, sending you love and strength. And then, thanks for our informative discussion earlier this week. So we don't know what happened to Mr. Bosworth. You know, we no idea. Something in his family happened. We don't know. His dog died. We have no idea. But here's Mr. Brophy from Suffolk Construction, a bidder on the contract, sending him his personal prayers for you and your family, which gets back again to the disclosure. This is most certainly the creation of an appearance of conflict, at the least. 9 days later, MassDOT issues addendum number 4 to the RFP. The same day, Bosworth texted Patrick Lucy at Suffolk Construction. Again, we have all the text messages to back this up are in this, which we showed you earlier. Now, Mr. Bosworth was named I think the word was fellow for this thing called the Civil Action Project, which is some type of, how do we want to say this? Non-profit, we'll say it. Here's the Civil Action Project website right now. It has the Lieutenant Governor on the front page, and it is run by the ever loathsome George Bacharach. God. It is run by George Bacharach. Now, we don't know the, how should we say this, alleged grift that is going on with the Citizen or Civic Action Project. We don't know what's going on with them. But Mr. Bosworth was somehow named, I think the phrase was a fellow for the spring. And as part of that, he gave a tour of the South Station construction project to some young people, which is probably a nice thing to do. But in order to give the tour of the South Station Tower project, he had to ask the people who are building, in part, the South Station Tower project. Who could that be? Oh, it's his friends at Suffolk Construction. It's his friends at Suffolk Construction. What do you know? So there's we don't need to go through every word, but basically he's setting up a tour for these young people at South Station for my very quick tour with my Civil Action Project partner. Thank you so much, Scott. So Mr. Bosworth is getting something. Now, he could say that he actually didn't get anything. He didn't get paid. It was just something that he was doing nice for young people to help educate. That's possible. There could be nothing actually inherent. There could be nothing really wrong with that. But there doesn't actually have to be anything really wrong to make it an appearance of conflict. Because now Mr. Bosworth is clearly asking for special treatment from Suffolk Construction to give a tour of the construction site, which is actually, I wouldn't mind a tour of the construction site. I'm sure it'd be very interesting. And now he's asking for special favor from Suffolk Construction, which might not have any financial benefit at all, but it does have an appearance of conflict. Even ostensibly, he's doing it for the children. He's doing it for the children. March 27th, Bosworth appeared to have spoken with Fish by phone. Can I call you later? Bosworth, anytime. Imagine being able to call up. You're bidding for a 35-year contract, and you can just call up the head of the selection committee at any time. Bosworth and Kurt Summers, who's from Blackstone, met for lunch on March 31st. The next day, MassDOT issued addendum number 5 for the RFP. Also that day was the last day to issue the final addendum for the RFP or responses to requests for clarification, respond to proposals, changes of the proposer's organization, and respond to proposed changes to key personnel, which kind of gives you an idea of how well regulated or supposedly well regulated these things are. Then there's a extended text thread between Bosworth and Fish starting that day, April 1st. No joke. Hi, John. It looks like I missed a call from you after we talked. If so, in the morning. Thank you. Scott, I apologize, John Fish writes. I must have butt dialed you. However, I did hear back from redacted on an individual who I think would be a really great resource for you. Oh, if you are comfortable, I will give them your contact information and have them reach out to you if you are comfortable. I would like to stay with you on this journey. Wow, that seems like John Fish. Now, this is just my interpretation, but that seems like John Fish is hooking a brother up, right? That's exact like it. So I've been in politics off and on since what 1986. I took a whole decade off, somewhere in the middle there, or maybe even more. But I know exactly what this text message. If you've been in politics as long as I have, you know. If you've been in politics for 20 minutes, you know exactly what this text message means. Let me just blow it up on the screen so you can see it better. There we go. Scott, I apologize. I must have dialed you. However, I did hear back from redacted on an individual who I think would be a really great resource for you. Now, just my reading between the lines, just my personal editorial, that means you can get a job from this person. That's exactly what it means. If you are comfortable, I will give them your contact information and have them reach out to you. So it appears as if you're not job hunting or fishing, as the case may be. I would like to stay with you on this journey. That's your patron taking care of you. That's exactly what it means, right? If you've been in politics for 10 minutes, you know exactly what that text message means. It means John Fish is going to take care of me. That just my editorial, allegedly, but that's what that means. Here's the response. At 10:10 p.m. Hi, John. Please do share my contact information with your colleagues at Redacted Company. I recognize Redacted important. I honestly don't know where to begin. Thank you. I welcome and so much appreciate your offer to support me through this process. I am so very grateful for your help, friendship, and willingness to support me through this tough period. You are amazing. Thank you. Okay, so up until this point, we've been basically focused on the violation of the conflict of interest pledge based upon the real and apparent personal relationship. But now I'm becoming incredibly suspicious about the real and apparent business relationship. Remember, you don't have to prove an actual quid pro quo. You don't have to prove that. You only have to prove that it has the appearance of conflict. And text messaging John Fish at 10:10 at night has the appearance of conflict. 4:21 a.m. Scott, I will reach out to them today. Again, you are in my thoughts. Please let me know if I can ever be helpful to you and your family. I am here for you and appreciate your friendship. 6:57 p.m. Bosworth, can I call you later? Just checking to make sure you made the connection. I did not get a call today, but I haven't checked my email in hours. I will check now and let you know. Coincidentally, I spent most of the day at BU. Stunning. You should be quite proud. That must be a building that Suffolk built. They informed me that they would be calling you today. I will check with him first thing in the morning and circle back with you. Thank you very much. Wow. More thank yous from Mr. Bosworth. Scott, I checked in with Redacted. He thought the clinic was calling, but it's his practice. I'm tracking. Bosworth, thank you. I really appreciate all you're doing to help me. You have a million more important things to do. Fish and that's at 6:58 p.m. Fish at 9:20. I will touch base with you tomorrow. Enjoy your evening. I connected with Redacted. He would welcome the opportunity to connect with you. Please send an email to Redacted to request a meeting and provide details, including date of birth and phone number. Once you send the email, I will be in touch directly. Please let me know if you do not hear from him. And it goes on like this. And they start to, again, talk about the Cell Station project. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. And there's more communication about the Cell Station project, which we're going to kind of move over, and I'm just going to kind of scroll down here to find the next more smoking. This is not a smoking gun. This is like smoking guns, right? That's exactly what this is. Just looking for the next one, which is equally brutal. Okay, here's one here. May 16th, Global responded to MassDOT's request for clarification with a 24-hour deadline to respond. Bosworth and Summers connected by phone and text messages. Bosworth texted Basile. Why is Bosworth texting the lobbyist for Apple Green at all? Are you guys going out tonight? Call me if you are. Hey, you got to hit the bars tonight? May 16th. May 19th. MassDOT sent its 5th request for clarification with an answer including blah, 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 blah. So more procedural issues. Bosworth and Lucy exchanged text message. Lucy's from Suffolk Construction about ramp coating projects for Cell Station. I don't know if that's particularly relevant, but apparently Bosworth recommended a particular product for the ramps at Cell Station. Whatever. I don't know if that's really relevant. Maybe it is, but nothing that I can see. And as part of that, by the way, at 6:23 p.m., text exchange between Bosworth and Lucy. Bosworth sent John Chesto, who's a well-known reporter at the Globe. Bosworth sent Lucy John Chesto's contact information. You would imagine that the guy at Suffolk Construction probably already had it. But why is Bosworth sending media contact information to Suffolk Construction at all? And why is he texting him at 6:20? You get the idea. Yeah. All right. Made my point. We're page 8 of 11. I'm just scrolling down here to see if there's any more. It's just brutal. Here we are here. On the day the lease was signed. Excuse me, not the day the lease was signed, the day the contract was awarded, June 18th. June 18th, text exchange between Bosworth and Brophy. Brophy texted Bosworth, just checking in, no big deal. Brophy sent Bosworth a list of names. We signed in, we're happy to speak. So if we were to go back to the text message, you can actually see Mr. Brophy took a picture of the attendance sign-in sheet and sent it to Mr. Bosworth. We're happy to speak last. In other words, they're manipulating the meeting so that they get the last whack at swaying the selection committee. Right? It's always better to speak last because you can then dispel whatever the people who went before you, and the people who went before you don't get chance to rebut. We are happy to speak last. These people are incredibly savvy. That was in the morning. And then MassDOT met at noon. Text exchange Bosworth and Lucy, again from Suffolk Construction, during the meeting. You didn't sign up. Did you want to speak? Brophy will be called upon. And then, so Bosworth is making sure that the Suffolk people who want to speak are going to speak. Lucy texts back, no, it's going to be just Brophy. That seems incredibly manipulative. Now, again, if you can show me texts from Bosworth or any other MassDOT employee to Global and some other MassDOT employee is saying, hey, you didn't sign up to testify. If you can show me that, I'll report that too. I don't care. I don't know any of these people, but I know corruption when I see it. And this is it. Again, this is the day of the award. MassDOT voted to approve lease with Apple Green. Well, they didn't sign the lease. They awarded the contract, the bid. That was approximately 3:10 p.m. on the day of the award. Bosworth, 3:16 p.m. About 6 minutes later, Bosworth texts Lucy, got it done. Lucy reacted with the heart emoji. Smoking gun. I mean, God. And by the way, I've been saying that these people are savvy, but how fucking stupid do you have to be to think that these text messages, listen, if you want to be corrupt, you got to be smarter than this to text message all this shit. Right? How dumb are you? Because some knucklehead that learned how to stream is somehow, someday in 2025 going to get a hold of this and air all your dirty laundry out. That same evening, Bosworth texted Summers, who, if I recollect from it, is at Blackstone, right? If which is the parent company of Apple Green. Hi, hope you're feeling well. Your team did a good job today. Now the work begins. In other words, Bosworth is expressing, Bosworth somehow knows that Mr. Summers wasn't feeling well. How would Bosworth know how Mr. Summers feels? Summers reacted with a heart emoji. Catch up this weekend. I would enjoy that, Bosworth says. Global sent letter to Governor Healy 3 days later. Now, I actually gonna Google something right now at the moment because maybe remember that horrific event at the Blackstone headquarters? What day was that? What day was that? Was that in June? No, that was in July. So this had to be, I think that was in July. And remember, this was about a month earlier, if I have my timing correct. So we could go on. We don't have to. We've had a great audience today. I'm just going to check to see if we had any comments here. I don't think we had comments. But now you get my point. Relative to what we said at the opening. This is no longer an allegation. These text messages, which again are crystal clear, this is no longer an allegation. This is verifiable, provable, public record released by the Department of Transportation. All of these text messages, and we have pages and pages of them. Here we're just scrolling aimlessly, pages and pages of these text messages. They're even exchanging the goofy Seth Meyers bit that Seth Meyers did about Apple Green and Massachusetts drivers and Guinness, right? We have pages and pages of these things. This is no longer an allegation. This is literal corruption. And I think the only honest thing to do at this point is to freeze the process. Then to rebid the process and sadly to disqualify Applegreen. I think Applegreen clearly has conducted themselves and Mr. Fish on their behalf in a manner which should not only disqualify them from this bid, but maybe from a lot of bids. How many other bids, if any, is Suffolk Construction doing the same thing? Maybe none. Maybe this is the only time they've ever done this. Makes you wonder. But I think that they, at the very least, Applegreen and Suffolk Construction and Blackstone should be disqualified from rebidding in a new round. That's my feeling on it. And I know we're not going to have any action. We are not going to have any action from the Suffolk County District Attorney or from the Attorney General of Massachusetts. We're not going to have any action from them. But Leah Foley, U.S. Attorney, if you're listening, this is right up your alley. All right, I'm John F. Gately. You can call me Jack. We'll be back. Bye-bye. Have a great day. See ya.